Okay, let's get started. Today we're dropping anchor, so to speak, into what is, well, arguably one of the world's most dynamic economic hubs.
Hmm.
And really, this isn't just about ships stacking up or cranes moving boxes. It's much bigger. It's about this incredible story of engineering, a real technological proving ground.
Absolutely. It's a massive ecosystem that basically powers a huge chunk of modern Europe. We are, of course, talking about the port of Rotterdam.
Right. And if you want a short pet, like a way to really get up to speed on global trade and the future of logistics, Rotterdam is the place to look.
It really is. I
Yeah.
mean, just picture this. It's the largest seaport in Europe. It stretches, what, 40 kilometers?
Hmm.
All the way from the city right out into the North Sea.
That distance is hard to even imagine, and the history there is just, it's profound.
For decades, right? From
Yeah.
1962 up until 2004, it was the world's busiest port.
By annual cargo tonnage, yeah. That's a long reign.
It really is. Eventually, yeah, the sheer scale of Asian ports like Singapore and Shanghai took over that top spot.
Yeah.
True, but that doesn't diminish Rotterdam's importance now.
No, not at all. And that physical footprint, covering 105 square kilometers, it's still absolutely staggering.
And its strategic role, if anything, it's just as crucial today. You have to understand, Rotterdam functions as this vital conduit. It's facilitating trade for a massive hinterland.
A hinterland meaning.
Basically, the whole area, it serves inland.
Yeah.
And we're talking over 500 million consumers across Europe.
500 million people. Wow.
Yeah, so it's literally the gateway. Its efficiency or inefficiency impacts nearly every major manufacturing and retail chain on the continent. It's that central.
So to keep that central role, they've obviously faced some pretty big challenges, geographically, for instance.
Oh, definitely. The port sits right in the middle of the Rhine-Meuse Delta.
Which sounds good, rivers, connections inland.
Exactly. It offered
Yeah.
those natural connections.
Yeah.
But they hit a major snag early on. Crucial problem. How do you get deep, direct access from the city right out to the sea for the really big ships?
Okay, so how did they solve that?
Well, that leads us to one of the great sort of civil engineering sagas of the 19th century, the creation of the Nieuwe Waterway.
The new waterway.
That's right.
Yeah.
Designed by Peter Calland. And the initial plan, it was, well, beautifully ambitious. The idea was you dig part of the canal,
Okay.
and then you let the strong, natural flow of the river water do the rest. Just scour out the channel, deepen the canal bed all the way to the sea.
Huh. That sounds optimistic, like crossing your fingers and hoping nature cooperates. Did it actually work like that?
No, not at all, actually. That whole natural self-deepening idea, it completely failed in the final stretch.
Okay.
So it turned into this monumental task. That last section had to be dug out by sheer manual labor, dredging equipment, you name it, just to finally get that connection finished. It was ready by 1872.
Wow. So much for letting the river do the work.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It's a pretty amazing story of just having to wrestle with nature, really, to secure that deep water access they absolutely needed.
Okay, so they solved the river access problem. But then comes the next issue, right? Shifts just kept getting bigger. Global commerce demands bigger, deeper vessels. How did Rotterdam keep up with that relentless growth?
That's where it gets really interesting. They basically decided, well, if the existing shore isn't deep enough or big enough,
Yeah.
we'll just build new land right out into the North Sea.
Wait, just build land out in the sea?
Yep, that's the story of Europort. They literally called it the Gate to Europe, and the massive construction of the Maasvlakte area in the 1970s, projecting right out there.
That's incredible, just manufacturing coastline.
And they didn't stop there. They kept going. The second phase, Maasvlakte 2, that got political approval and construction, started up in 2008, pushing the boundaries of the Netherlands even further out into the sea.
So this obsession with size, with deep water, it lets them handle pretty much anything afloat.
Pretty much the biggest ships in the world, yeah. Which brings us to this fascinating detail about ship draft.
Right. For anyone listening, the draft is just how deep the ship sits in the water, right? How much water it draws.
Correct. And the port's EECV quay, that's one specific terminal, it's engineered to allow a massive 24-meter draft. That's incredibly deep.
24 meters.
And the perfect example of why that matters is the iron ore carrier MS Bergstahl. For a long time, this was one of the absolute largest bulk cargo ships anywhere.
Okay, I think I've heard of that one. Huge ship.
Enormous. And when the Bergstahl was fully loaded, its draft was 23 meters.
23. So just 1 meter less than the maximum depth at that quay.
Exactly. Meaning when it docked in Rotterdam, it had just 1 single meter of what's called under keel clearance.
Wow.
That's the distance between the bottom of the ship and the harbor floor. 1 meter.
That sounds incredibly tight. Dangerous, even.
It was such a precise operation, so precise that the ship could only actually dock within a very restricted, very specific tidal window. They had to time it perfectly with the high tide using the dedicated Eurogil channel.
Just to get that tiny bit of extra clearance.
It just shows you the insane level of precision needed to manage these global megaships. You talk about centimeters sometimes.
That scale, that precision, it feels like a natural lead-in to the next big frontier for Rotterdam automation.
Absolutely. While the port's core business, the bread and butter, is still heavily into the petrochemical industry and general cargo transshipment.
Right, the stuff that needs moving.
And they've built amazing infrastructure to handle that, like the Batua route.
Ah, yes, the fast cargo railway.
Yeah, shoots cargo straight into Germany. Opened back in 2007. Super efficient. But you're right, the really eye-opening innovation, the thing that feels like the future, is happening right there on the container docks.
You mean the disappearing human element?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Take the Delta terminal, for example. It's kind of famous for pioneering fully autonomous container operations.
It even got that nickname, didn't it? The ghost terminal.
That's the one. And if you were to visit, you'd immediately understand why. The loading, the stacking, it's all managed by these autonomous robotic cranes and computer-controlled chariots.
Right.
Well, they call them automated guided vehicles, AGVs, but they're huge, unmanned vehicles. Not like forklifts. These are massive machines moving containers around.
Okay, so how do these AGVs, how do they know where to go? No drivers.
No drivers at all. They navigate using a magnetic grid that's embedded right into the surface of the terminal floor.
Like invisible tracks?
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
And their position is identified by infrared eyes. So they follow the grid, pick up a container, move it precisely to the staging yard.
And then what happened?
Then they're picked up and stacked by the automated stacking cranes, the ASCs, which are also
It's unmanned.
also completely unmanned. It's this incredibly complex, coordinated ballet of machinery, entirely driverless.
It's hard to picture, like a science fiction movie set.
It really is something to see. But what's perhaps even more defining for the modern port, beyond the robots, is how they manage all the information, the data.
The smart port vision.
Exactly. The Port Authority uses the Internet of Things, IoT. They have sensors everywhere, all connected via a cloud-based platform, collecting and processing data constantly across that entire 40-kilometer stretch.
Sensors for what, though? What kind of data?
Oh, everything. Water depth, currents, wind speed, air quality, berth availability, traffic flow, you name it. It helps them optimize everything in real time.
And they even sent out that special container, right? Container 42.
Yes. Container 42. Sounds like something out of Hitchhiker's Guide, doesn't it?
It really does.
But yeah, May 2019, they sent this standard-looking container out on a 2-year mission. Its only job, to collect data.
About its own journey.
Exactly. Sending back information on everything, vibration, temperature, humidity, air quality inside and out, its exact location, impacts. It was basically a mobile sensor platform masquerading as a shipping box.
Yep.
Testing the tech.
That ability to blend the massive physical stuff, like building the Mosvlaktes, with this hyper-efficient digital management, that seems to be the key, doesn't it?
That's absolutely what keeps Rotterdam at the cutting edge. It's the physical scale combined with digital intelligence.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about moving cargo, building land, but what about protecting all this? The Netherlands has this famous, sometimes adversarial relationship with water.
That's putting it mildly.
Yes. Given Rotterdam's location, right out there, exposed,
Yeah.
they must have some serious flood defenses.
Oh, world-class
Yeah.
defenses. This is where the famous Delta Works plan comes into play. It's this huge, comprehensive national flood protection strategy implemented after the 1953 floods.
And the star of the show, protecting Rotterdam itself.
That would be the Maaslankering, the Maasland barrier. It's an incredible piece of engineering designed specifically to protect against severe storm surges coming in from the North Sea.
I've seen pictures. It looks
What?
unreal. Like 2 giant white curved arms. How does that thing actually work?
It's magnificent, really.
Yeah.
The barrier has these 2 enormous rotating doors, huge steel structures. Normally, they sit tucked away in dry docks on either side of the new waterway.
Okay, out of the way.
Right. But if a flood of 3 meters above NAP is predicted...
NAT being?
NAP is the normal Amsterdam's PI. It's the standard Dutch reference point for mean sea level.
Got it. So 3 meters above average sea level predicted.
Then the dry docks are flooded. The massive gates actually float up.
They float, those huge things.
Like giant caissons, yeah. They float out, rotate into position right across the main shipping channel, meet in the middle, and then they're sunk under the riverbed, completely sealing the waterway against the storm surge.
That's mind-blowing.
Isn't it? And there's also the Hardelkering barrier, which protects a secondary channel. It's a whole system, vital for protecting the port and the city behind it.
So the working port is defended. But Rotterdam's also done this amazing job with the older parts of the port, right? Areas where activity shifted outwards towards the sea. They haven't just left them empty.
No, the city's been brilliant at what you might call urban maritime integration, taking these old, sometimes vacant docklands and turning them into vibrant parts of the city again.
Like the Oude Haven.
Exactly. The Oude Haven, the Old Harbor, is one of the oldest port areas. Now, it's a really well-known, busy nightlife district, packed with cafes, restaurants, right on the water.
And it's right next to those crazy cube houses, the Kubuswoningen.
That's right, which creates this fantastic architectural contrast, the super modern, quirky houses next to the historic harbor setting. It makes the area a real focal point for tourists and locals alike.
And they didn't just build around the old harbors. They actually used one as a museum exhibit, didn't they?
Yes, the Loophaven. It actually hosted some museum ships way back, but since 1986, it's been the permanent home for the Maritime Museum. The harbor itself is filled with historic vessels you can explore. It brings history alive.
But maybe the most dramatic example of this urban renewal is the Kop van Zuid area.
Oh, without a doubt. The head of the South. This whole area in the south bank of the Nieuwe River. It was basically derelict for decades.
Why was that?
It had been heavily damaged during the German bombing campaign back in 1940 during World War II.
Right.
And it just sat there, largely unused for a very long time, a real scar on the cityscape. Until the turning point, which was the construction of the Erasmus Bridge in 1996.
Ah, the big white suspension bridge, the Swan.
That's the one. That bridge finally provided a direct, modern link between the north and south banks right there. And it just unleashed this wave of development on the Kop van Zuid.
So what's there now?
It's completely transformed. You've got iconic buildings like the Hotel New York, which is housed in the magnificent former headquarters of the Holland-America Lines.
Connecting to that history of immigration.
Exactly. Standing alongside brand new skyscrapers, public buildings, the Luxor Theater. It went from wasteland to this bustling, prestigious urban district. A complete overhaul.
And that process isn't even finished, is it? They're still changing the landscape?
Still going. There were very recent plans announced, I think March 2020, for the Rheinhaven, another one of the old harbor basins.
What are they doing there?
They're actually going to partially fill it in after 2024.
Fill in a harbor? Why?
To make room for more housing. Residential construction, a new city park. They're planning high-rise residential towers along the Posthume Lane there. So actively decommissioning port water area to build homes and green space.
That's quite a statement, trading port space for living space.
It really shows that dedication to creating a livable, sustainable city, which leads us nicely into the final, really crucial piece of the modern Rotterdam story. Its environmental commitment.
Yeah, this is huge. The ambition is just so clear. The Port of Rotterdam is aiming to be completely emissions-free by the year 2050.
It's an incredibly aggressive goal, especially, as you mentioned earlier, for a port where petrochemicals are still a major part of the business.
So is it just talk, or are they actually doing things to get there?
Oh, it's definitely not just talk. You can see tangible projects happening. It's like the Floating Office Rotterdam, the F4R building.
The Floating Office?
Yeah. Opened in September 2021. It actually houses the Global Center on Adaptation, the GCA. And it's got a restaurant, even a swimming pool, all built on a floating platform in one of the old harbor basins.
Wow. Why floating?
Well, it's partly symbolic, showcasing climate-adaptive architecture, but it's a very visible project tied directly into the city's broader Rotterdam Climate Initiative, the RCI, showing commitment.
And it's not just showcase projects, right? They're using money, financial levers to push the shipping industry itself.
Exactly. They understand you need to incentivize change, not just regulate it. So back in 2018, the Port Authority launched this €5 million incentive scheme. Specifically aimed at encouraging climate-friendly shipping practices. Basically rewarding ships and companies that invest in cleaner technologies or fuels.
And they have ongoing programs too, like the Green Award. How does that work?
The Green Award is a certification system. If a seagoing vessel meets specific environmental and safety standards beyond the legal minimums, it gets certified.
And that certification gets them, what, in Rotterdam?
It gets them discounts on their seaport dues. Real money off their bill for docking and using the port facilities.
Okay, so a direct financial benefit for being greener.
Precisely. And they also offer a separate 5% discount on inland port dues, specifically linked to providing emissions data. Transparency is rewarded too.
Is this making a difference? Are the savings significant?
It adds up. The Port Authority reported giving out about 5.6 million in total rebates through these kinds of sustainability schemes just in 2024. So yes, they are actively subsidizing lower emissions to try and hit that ambitious 2050 target.
Okay, so if we sort of zoom out and look at this whole journey, Rotterdam starts as this historical giant defined by just sheer capacity, right? Moving hundreds of millions of tons of cargo.
468.7 million tons in 2021, just as a reference point. Huge numbers.
And defined by its willingness to literally build land out into the North Sea, the Mos Lactis.
Engineering on a colossal scale.
But now it feels like it's transforming into something else. An entity defined almost as much by its software code, its robotic efficiency.
And it's really aggressive climate targets, yeah. It's a remarkable pivot.
It really is. It feels like a blueprint for, well, for what a 21st century port needs to be.
Definitely. And, the way we measure Rotterdam's success in the future, it might be less about the cubic meters of water they dredge, or even the tons of cargo shifted.
And more about
the gigabytes of data they process efficiently, the air quality in the city nearby, how well integrated the port is with the urban environment. It's a different set of metrics emerging.
that really does raise a fascinating question for the future, doesn't it? Is this radical commitment that Rotterdam's showing to urban integration, to robotics, to these huge climate incentives, is it purely a hard-nosed strategy, a way to stay competitive against those massive Asian ports? Or is it something deeper? Maybe a philosophical necessity for a nation like the Netherlands, literally built on managing water, to lead the way in balancing economy and ecology?
That's a great question to ponder, and maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. It's worth taking a look yourself, perhaps exploring whether other major global ports are really trying to follow this same Dutch blueprint.
Yeah, are they truly trying to reconcile that drive for robotic efficiency and massive scale with equally aggressive climate targets and becoming, a good urban neighbor?
It's a complex balancing act, and Rotterdam seems determined to master it.
Something definitely worth keeping an eye on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.